Okay, let's dive straight into this explainer and completely bypass the pleasantries because we're looking at a hypothetical scenario today that demands immediate attention. We're talking about a fundamental system failure in the modern church, and specifically how we go about rebuilding the discipleship chain.
Just imagine for a second, if your church disappeared today, how many people could actually stand on their own? I really want you to sit with that. We're not talking about people who just attend or who can merely repeat a sermon they heard, but people who can actually stand, endure, and reproduce their faith. We've got a lot of people who gather, sure, but if we're being brutally honest here, far fewer who are resilient enough to survive without the institution propping them up.
So let's look at the broken chain and why biblical formation essentially stopped.
Because when that chain breaks, formation just stops completely. Over time, we've kind of accidentally traded genuine formation for merely informing believers. It's like we've created this whole culture of informed believers, spectators who might know a ton of theology. But the New Testament, it demands formed disciples, people who are actually shaped by the gospel and act as resilient reproducers. You see, making a convert is just the starting line. It is definitely not the finish line.
This brings us to 3 disastrous substitutions, basically how really good things got us completely off track. So how did we get here? Look, the church didn't maliciously abandon discipleship in some smoky back room somewhere. Instead, we adopted 3 good but totally inadequate substitutes that altered our whole trajectory. First, we relied heavily on the sermon, which accidentally led to spectator formation. Second, we relied on the program to manage people at scale, which resulted in anonymous formation. And third, we leaned into information transfer, leaving us with discipleship without reproduction. Let's break those down. First up, spectator formation. This happens when the sermon is essentially our only tool for growth. Now, preaching is a vital, non-negotiable means of grace, absolutely. But a sermon addresses everyone and no one simultaneously. So spectator formation means knowing all the biblical content, but without actually being shaped by it under the weight of personal expectation or relational proximity. As a spectator, you're getting informed, but you are not getting formed.
Next, we've got anonymous formation. This kicks in when a structured program becomes our primary relational space. You can attend a program for years and remain entirely unexamined in your actual day-to-day life. Why? Because a program runs on a calendar. It inadvertently allows people to just hide their real struggles, their fears, and their actual sins right inside what looks like a community. A program simply doesn't know you well enough to form you.
Finally, there's information transfer. When transferring information becomes the ultimate goal, when we elevate theological literacy like it's the final finish line, we end up with discipleship without reproduction. And the crucial point here is that evangelism then gets reduced to a one-off event or an outreach campaign, rather than what it should be, the organic overflow of a transformed life.
So, let's pivot and enthusiastically look at the actual fix. 4 generations in 1 sentence. The 2 Timothy 2:2 mandate.
The actual biblical solution to this broken system isn't just rolling out another new program. It's an ancient architecture mapped out brilliantly in a single sentence. And what you have heard from me, entrust to faithful men who will be able to teach others also. This isn't just an inspiring quote to slap on a church wall or a coffee mug, right? It's a literal, reproducible system architecture.
Just watch how this intentional chain is forged. Step 1, it starts with Paul, who invests directly in Timothy. Then, Timothy is tasked to shape faithful men, and they serve as the next generation to reach others also. It proves that every single link must be intentionally forged to ensure the next generation actually survives. We're talking about deliberate, life-on-life investment where the discipler shapes the disciple so they can one day shape someone else.
Which brings us to the reproductive standard, the true telos, or ultimate goal of discipleship.
We really have to redefine the ultimate goal here. We need to shift our focus away from just producing a well-rounded, educated individual and move toward releasing a missional reproducer. Because when the relational model of Jesus is actually working, you don't even need parallel outreach programs. First, evangelism happens naturally as a relational overflow. Second, leadership reproduces itself organically. And third, you naturally create these outposts of church planting wherever people go. Fully formed people naturally bear witness.
So I want to end with this final, provocative, drop-the-mic thought right from our source material. Biblical discipleship doesn't produce informed believers. It produces people who cannot be shaken and who form others. That is the standard right there. So, looking at your own life and your own community, what step are you going to take today to rebuild that broken chain?